Now, I want to talk about PMT and PV. That was just harking back to where we came from. Now I want to look at these two formulas. So these numbers that I came up with, the 351.55 and the 387, they came from the PMT formula. Okay, and the PMT formula is on your formula sheet, number one. Number two, it's on your, do I have this open? Oh, there it is. So I think, now they call this, this section is called loans. They start off with mortgages. We're going to get to mortgages, but here's that formula with the words written out. That's the same as what it looks like on your formula sheet. Now, as I already said, this is not something you can just plug into your calculator. This is something that you need Excel or some other program to calculate. You do not have to have Excel to do it, because you could go to Google and you could say, Google, you know, give me my car loan calculator. And there we go. Car loan calculator from Google. The loan amount was $15,647. The interest rate was 3.75%. The loan period was 48 months. They don't round it to the nearest penny. They round it to the nearest dollar. But it's the same. They're doing the same thing. Okay. So that's just a reminder that in the real world, if you don't remember how to use Excel, you don't have to use Excel. But this is the way the formula looks. In Excel, it looks like this. This is, so let me kind of interpret these different parts. First of all, let me just copy this, paste it so I don't have to keep. Okay, so the first part of it is the monthly interest rate. And I wrote 3.75% divided by 12. Another option would be 0.0375 divided by 12. I wouldn't actually divide by 12 and type and then write that in, because for the most part, you're going to have rounding issues and you get a better answer, more accurate answer if you don't round at all. Okay, so those are your two options about how you would write the monthly interest rate. The second part is the number of payments. Number of payments can typically be thought of as the number of months, because in general, we pay our debt monthly. And you could write here 48. You could write 12 times 4. You could write 4 times 12. Oops. All of those things are acceptable ways to write that. And then the third thing is the amount of the loan. And the only weird thing here is you put a negative sign in front of it and no commas. It's very important that there's no commas in this number, even though, you know, you might think to put a comma between the 5 and the 6. Don't do that. Okay. So Benito's would be very similar. All I did was change the interest rate and it did the same calculation for me. Now, typically in class, we're not in front of computers, and so I have people practice this, but we just practice writing stuff down. I'm going to do one practice problem. We'll have you write it down, and you can send me a text of how you would write it. If you have Excel right in front of you, you can type it into Excel, and that'll give you immediate feedback. Otherwise, you have to send me a picture, and then I'll give you feedback. Any questions about the formula? Remember, this is the way it actually looks. You have the equal sign, then PMT, then the open parenthesis, and then you have 3 what are called arguments separated by commas. There's 2 commas there. The first one's the monthly interest rate, then the number of payments, and then the amount of the loan. Okay, so let's do a real problem. let's say you are going to borrow money to get your bachelor's degree. If you need 60 credits at, let's just look this up. I don't want to make it up. How much is a undergraduate credit at IUN? Let's say in-state 229.84. 229.84. How much will you owe? Your loan is 6.75%. Want to pay it off in 10 years. What will you need to pay per month? Okay. A couple of numbers that I had to kind of throw in there. I'm pretty confident about the 60 credits. That's assuming that you've already got your associate's degree. So you finish your associate's degree and you're thinking, okay, well, I better go finish my bachelor's. I think it's generally about 60 credits. That's the actual cost per credit hour off the IUN website. And then these other two numbers, about 6.75% is my best recollection about what the kind of average APR is for student loans. It's complicated because there's different kinds of student loans, and are you getting private or federal money? We're just going to skip over all that complexity. And then the 10 years, I just made it up. Like, let's just get this thing done in 10 years, right? So how much are you going to have to pay per month? So what you should be doing here, this is a sub problem. We got to answer this question first. But once you have that number, then you have everything you need to write PMT formula. On a test, that's the expectation. You're not going to turn to Excel and do it because we're not assuming that you have access to Excel right at that moment. So all you would have to do is write the PMT formula or look at a list of multiple choice and identify the correct PMT formula. So take a minute, see if you can answer that question. Send me a text if you think you're on your way and you want feedback. How's it going? Bad? Good? Haven't got any texts yet. Here's the sub question answer. So you're going to end up borrowing about $14,000 for that bachelor's degree for the last 2 years. Okay, let's take a look. So first thing you would have is the equal sign. Then you'd have the PMT. Then you'd have the open parentheses. And then what comes next?
0.0675 divided by 12.
Yep. Okay. And again, if you wrote that as 6.75 with the percent sign behind it, Excel's fine with that. But you can also turn it into a decimal. That's cool too. All right. How many months are we going to pay? Or how many payments are we going to make?
120.
Yep. That's 10 times 12. You can write it like that too. And then the last thing is, how much am I borrowing? And that's why we needed to do that first calculation. So I would just put the minus 13,790.4. Okay. So $158 a month for 10 years. Now here's the typical extension question to that. How much does the loan cost in total? And just to be, not to confuse it with my question about loan costs, how much do you pay in total? And then how much of that is interest? So to answer these two questions, we got to, the math here is not complicated, but we've got to do some other operations. Nothing crazy with Excel. I mean, we could use Excel to do it. So let me give you kind of a similar version of this. All right. Just to help you try to wrap your head around what you're going to do here. This is a adapter. You can buy this for $100 right now, $100. Or you can pay me $10 a month for a year. $100 right now, or just pay me $10 a month for a year. What's the, how much would you pay total in my monthly program?
$120.
Right, because you just paid $10 a month for a year, which is 12 months, so 10 times 12. And that means you can buy a thingy for $100 right now, or you can pay $10 a month for a year. And that means 10 times 12, which is $120. So the answer to the first question, how much do you pay total? That's the 120. And how much do you pay interest is what?
$20.
Right, because you could have bought it for 100, right? But you chose to go the payment route, and therefore you paid extra. The extra is the interest, right? So that's like a similar example with nice round numbers. So what makes this problem hard is you got to sort through all of the significance of all of these numbers, and they're not all nice round numbers. How much am I paying every month in this student loan situation?
$158.35.
Okay, and then we need to multiply that by how many months we're going to make that payment.
So times 120.
Perfect, because you do it every month for 10 years, right? So 10 times 12, that's 120 months. And then that's the number that you need to multiply your payment by, because you're doing it every month for 10 years. All right, well, let's take a look at what that equals. 158.35 times 120, there, $19,000 total. Okay, so now we have to figure out the interest. So how do I figure out how much interest that is?
Wouldn't you just subtract the 13,790 and 40 cents from the 19,000?
Right, because if I'd had the cash, I could have just paid the $13,790, but I didn't. I borrowed it, so I had to pay interest, and the interest is the difference, right? The difference between the total and the loan amount. Okay, so that's kind of the extension question. And we don't notice we didn't need Excel to answer the question about the interest or the cost of the loan. I would say the 5,200 is the cost of the loan. If we know we're paying the same amount every month, we can figure it out. For, a block period of time, we can work it out. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to the other equation, which is PV. Before I do that, let me just summarize PMT. You need three things. How the APR, how long you will be paying for, and the loan amount. And PMT is to answer the question, how much would I need to pay per month to pay it off, pay off my debt within a certain amount of time and given this APR. So as a human consumer, if you're thinking to yourself, gosh, can I afford like to buy this $100,000 house? PMT could help you, because you could say, well, I want to pay it off in 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. And according to my bank, this is the kind of APR they give for mortgages. This is the best APR. I don't know if I'm going to get that one, but let's just assume I get the best APR I can. You know, what's that look like as a monthly payment? Or same thing with a car loan, right? Can I afford this $20,000 car? I think I'm going to get this APR from my bank, and I want to pay it off in 4 years, right? So that's the PMT formula, and I suspect that you can already imagine how you might use it for yourself, stuff that you're interested in.
Would you be able to type out the PMT formula just one more time?
Sure.
Just like how you'd use it.
I'm going to leave the equal sign off because otherwise it'll want to calculate it. But so there's the APR divided by 12. There's the number of months, and there's the loan amount. And remember, that's in your book, that's on your formula sheet, but you have to get comfortable with where the numbers go and the fact that that first number is divided by 12, for instance.
Why divided by 12?
Because we want to turn it into a monthly rate. Because it's not compounding every year, it's compounding every month. So what the PMT formula does is it kind of breaks it down into a monthly program. Good question. Okay. So let's turn now to our other formula.